16 games, 5 matchups, 5 contenders, 2 playoff spots. If this season has showed us anything, it's that your playoff chances can feel secure, but fall by the wayside the minute you trade for Justin Jefferson. A mistake so egregious that it'll make you hate waking up every morning like an FSU fan thinking about the college football playoff. With just 1 week remaining of the fantasy season, I wanted to get in some truly intelligent experts to provide some cutting-edge insight on who has the best shot at taking home the coveted title of fantasy football champion. Unfortunately, I got these two assholes. This is Fantasy 23 News. Joining me today is the man whose true talent is saying things like, "This is really the lowest I can go." The man whose FaceTimes have sent shockwaves and restraining orders throughout this league, our injection party specialist, Kevin Costello. How does it feel to be making your debut, Kevin?
You know, it feels phenomenal. I think back to the probably 500 miles I drove around the Atlanta airport.
And it's all too much for little Lando Norris. 21 years old, he just needs a bit of sleep.
And really not leading up for anything besides this moment. Great to be here. Excited to have some thought-provoking discussions with you all. And can't wait to win the championship once again.
And as always, a staple on Fantasy 23 News, the newest Duval County resident, a construction site's worst nightmare, a future expert litigator, and a man who scored 89 points in a PPR league and won. Our commissioner, Logan Crutchfield. Glad to have you back on the show.
What can I say? I'm always thrilled to be here, Noah. As you know, I'm a longtime caller and a first-time listener, as usual. So this is really a special spot for me to be. I think that we're going to have a lot of enlightening conversations about what this league has been this year. But one thing that I think people can never take away from me is going 2-0 against Mr. Costello and going 1-0 against yourself this year.
Well, as always, Logan, you're doing a little bit of trolling. Now, boys, I am going to get into my first question. There has been no one quite as bad as Austin Gergen this season. Sitting with a 2-12 record and on a 7-game losing streak, the question on everyone's mind has to be, what song are we going to have him make a music video for come draft night 2024?
You know, the immediate one that popped up in my head, obviously Rocky Top. They're used to getting disappointed. He's used to getting disappointed, so it's a great fit there. But really the one that's sticking with me is Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, because Austin was clearly once again blinded by the lights this season and did not live up to the expectations.
No, I like that question. I would remind our viewers at home just to keep in mind that we also have two past losers, Noah and Kyle, who have yet to perform or complete a loser's punishment. So my hope is that maybe we'll get a surprise musical number combining our loser singing talent. You know, I'm thinking Noah could come in at the soprano, hit a lot of high notes. Austin is a little bit more of an alto on the higher side, but you know, he can really kind of carry the group, and Kyle could come in and get some bass notes at the tenor level or something like that. So I don't know. I you know, maybe we need a fourth one, like a barbershop quartet or something like that. But I'm confident in these three and their musical capabilities.
You know, the barbershop quartet is a really interesting idea, Logan. And I think, you know, we could get costumes for it. We could perform a live number in front of everybody. But, you know, I'm happy to contribute if our resident loser, Austin, can come in and come up with a great idea. You know, I'm more than happy to help out to make sure that I complete my end of the bargain, as the SAT lies dormant, never again to be taken by me. But, you know, as for him, you know, I think the answer is pretty easy. When we're talking about football this season, who else are we talking about, right, boys, but Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift? And, you know, Travis Kelce is on his team, and I think, you know, the answer is easy. Bad blood by Taylor Swift. You know, I'm sure that Austin has to have a lot of bad blood with some of the players on his team, you know, with Justin Herbert being so bad and Austin Eckler being so bad, Travis Kelce being so bad. You know, he's got to have a lot of bad blood with some of these guys. And I think the question now becomes, will Austin ever be good again? I mean, you know, last year his team name at the end of the season was, "Is anyone on my team good?" And I think, is anyone on his team good? Are you cursed if you are drafted by Austin Gergen? he's got to have a lot of bad blood between the people that drafted him this season.
One final point, Noah. I think that, when somebody asks me how many points I think Austin might score, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
I mean, that seems pretty high for him. I mean, I was not worried about my matchup last week, and I only scored 100 points, and I knew that was going to be more than enough to beat him.
Stop! He's already dead.
Second question for you guys is a more difficult one. Looking back on this season and the seasons previous, who do you think is the biggest fraud in this lovely league that we're in, and what makes them particularly fraudulent?
Yeah, I'm glad you came to me, Noah, and I hate to say this, I gotta look to Kyle Sawtell, honestly. He won a title his first year in the league. We'll give him that. We'll give him that. Granted, we had a few people in the league that are no longer present, no longer with us. But honestly, when you look at Kyle's performance in the years after that, you got to think, are they putting lead in the maple syrup up there in Vermont? I mean, my gosh, he went from first to worst, and he's circling the drain again this year. So, I mean, when I think of a fraud, maybe he's got like a a case of dementia that kicks in after you turn 30. But that's who I would point to.
Logan, I think that's a really excellent thing. I think if Kyle spent a little less time in the woods thinking about Sam Laporta, I think that might have been the highlight of the season was one meme that I made in week 1. So, Kevin, what about you?
I hate to say it, but my biggest fraud this year is going to be the man sitting next to me, and that would be none other than Logan Grutchfield. I just think he's had too many games where he has not put up the points but gotten the win. Defense does win championships. I'll give him that. And I also am 0-2 versus him, which doesn't fit my narrative, but I'm going to say it anyways, in that this is now the 6th league. We're not looking like we're having another championship here unless some things get really lucky later on. And just once again, I hate to say it, my brother since kindergarten, but brother, man, maybe next year.
Kevin, I think you've got an excellent point there. And I mean, Logan, every year you just fluke yourself to 8-8 and you're circling 8-8 one more time. I mean, you've got to be close to, if not the least points scored in this league. And yet somehow you have an outside shot here at the playoffs. I think I've scored like 130 more points than you, but I think the answer is obvious, right? I mean, there's only one true fraud in this league. This man, he won a championship, and then he came back the next season and he started out 8-1. He comes out hot, and what have I done since then but spew the truth? And the truth is that Alex Tedeschi is a fraud, and he will forever be a fraud. Since that 8-1 start, he's lost 15 out of the last 20, and it's been nothing but downhill since that start last season. And he will continue to be a fraud and live very comfortably in his little clubhouse in Atlanta, Georgia, his Mickey Mouse clubhouse. Last but not least is our final discussion question of the evening, and the most important one, the playoff hunt. Right now we have 2 spots clinched, 5 people for the last 2 spots, with almost no one playing each other. So unless you're Alex versus Austin this week, your game means something. Kevin, who do you think is going to take this final playoff spot, and who do you think will come out on top when everything is said and done?
Idiot! Oh, what a loser!
I think as for these final spots, I mean, congrats to Pero for a great season. 11 wins with Burrow. Getting knocked out is impressive. Luke has a team that can hurt you in a lot of ways, but glad to see he's in. I'm putting myself in there. Got to bet on myself. After starting 1-5, getting to where I am today, feeling pretty good. I feel like I'm going to continue that momentum into the playoffs. And then as for the 4 seed, as much as I hate to say it, I want Logan's wins versus me to mean something. I'm going to put him in there. I like the matchup he has this week, and I'm liking Kogan to be a Mike Evans protege, if you will. Kind of like when Mike hits his 1,000 yards, he stops playing. That's what Kogan's doing after 8 wins this year.
Him on
Wrong.
He has consistently denied what is
Wrong.
a very
I have to agree with my counterpart here. I think that Nick is in, and I think Luke is in, unless we see some truly crazy stuff like we saw last year. I would remind our viewers at home. But I do think that Mr. Costello has locked up the 3rd spot, and I hate to say it, I think I've generated enough bad karma by roasting Kyle Sawtell himself. When he has an opportunity to play me, play the spoiler this week, it'll be like 2008 Bucks Raiders all over again. I think that I've collected quite a history of chokes in the final week of the regular season in this league's history, and this year might just be another episode in that sorry collection. So I actually see the anytime TD gambling addict himself, the Mike Evans anytime TD legend Kogan Waldauer, making it in the fourth slot. And I think that he will actually be able to leapfrog out of his playoff matchup into a championship and get thumped by Nick Pero. And again, we got to shout out Nick for the season that he's had. Just you look at that draft board and just money picks up and down. We talked about it here, 11 wins in the regular season. You know, this kid went to Auburn. We didn't even know if he could count to 11, but clearly he was able to, leverage his season much better than any of us that went to the harbor of Alachua County ever could. So again, got to tip your hat to Nick and to everybody else for the good and the more pathetic seasons among us.
Tim, on he has consistently denied what is a very.
I want to be objective here and not just say myself, because I am one of those aforementioned people that is in the playoff race. Because much like Logan, I am on the outside looking in, and I really do care about the integrity of the show and giving good opinions and good insight. So obviously I'm going to have Pero coming in first, and then I'm going to have Luke coming in second, with Kevin coming in third. Now, Kogan's team has been hot of late, and Logan, you fluked yourself into quite an improbable position. So I could easily see Kogan sneaking into that last spot, upsetting Nick Pero despite his amazing season, and giving us the Battle of Tampa Bay in the final with Kevin and Kogan.
Psych! Got him!
However, I am not going to do that today. My team is going to sneak into that final spot, rain War Eagles all over Pero, and then comfortably take on whatever chump has the absolute unfortunate pleasure of losing to me in the final. I mean, Justin Jefferson has to play. He has to play, right? Well, that is all the time that we have today. But before we go, Logan, Kevin, what final words do you have for our audience at home?
Yeah, really, I do need to seriously thank one person for this entire season, and that is none other than Lamicki himself. Alex, I just want to say thank you so much for CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, a couple good weeks of Mark Andrews, and without your trade, I might be looking like Austin Gergen right now.
Yeah, I've only got a couple notes here, and I guess it we'll look back at this episode and we'll think, one of these two things will be true. If I make it in, and especially if Noah makes it in, that Josh Allen for Alvin Kamara trade that was pilloried in the group me will go down as one of the biggest win-win trades in league history. But if I don't make it in, and I'm currently on the outside looking in of this year's playoff race, I was thinking that myself and our current last place winner, Mr. Austin Gergen, my high school classmate at Palm Harbor University High School, we're now both law students, and lawyers playing fantasy football is like the Palm Harbor Hurricanes playing real football. It just doesn't work.
Well, if this interview has shown you anything, it is that FSU is truly the UF of the Florida Panhandle. Well, hopefully with whatever brain cells you have left, you'll be able to fully lock in this weekend, see your team make the playoffs, and watch Baker Mayfield be good, bad. Honestly, I don't know, but what I do know is that Mike Evans' anytime touchdown is a lock. From myself, Kevin, Logan, and everyone here at Fantasy 23 News, have a great rest of your night. Alex is a fraud, and
I should get some sleep.